There he is. Manager.
There I am. I'm here. I didn't want to wear glasses. I think I look better looking without them, but okay.
Oh, I'm still a hot mess, but I figure I'll, show myself today instead of hiding behind the camera all the time.
Yeah, I can't see shit.
I hadn't thought about it, Cary. A lot of people know who you are, and a lot of people don't. And a lot of people know who I am, but a lot of people don't. So I think maybe we need to do a little bit of an introduction so people know who we are.
Totally agree. Totally agree. You go first.
Thanks, Cary. Yours is way more impressive than mine. Y'all know who I am. I mean, my name's Tammy, whatever. But I've been in the fish hobby, for probably 25 years. I started when my mom got a tank, and I absolutely loved it. Did a lot of molly breeding, played with some guppies and a lot of different stuff.
Stop. I love molly. I love mollies.
I do too, but you know what? I love the discus too much. I got introduced to discus in 2009, and they've just become, I guess, everything. Absolutely love them. I started doing research on how to keep them healthy. I found that, doing the research on the health side of it is best to do, and you really need to. So I started doing that. I've been doing that for a few years now, on medications, what to use, what not to use, what the illnesses look like, and just the whole thing. I went a little bit overboard learning about Aeromonas bacteria because I lost a fish to it, and I saw a lot of other people losing fish to it. So I sat down and learned pretty much everything there is to know about that. But anyways, Cary, it's your turn.
I am totally the opposite of you. I am a very hard learner. I'm living a fast-paced, fast-lane life. Yeah, I didn't get into any diseases or any of that. I had to learn the hard way. I started collecting fish probably 1984. I seen discus in a pet shop, and they were from Jack Watley, and they were monsters. I mean, the biggest fish I've ever seen, as far as discus go, and I just was like intrigued from there. During that time, I was doing a lot of guppies, mollies like yourself, swordtails, piranhas. I even did for a while. A lot of rams, kerbenses, angelfish for a long time.
Angelfish. Oof.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, oh my gosh, it was so crazy. But yeah. And then I started getting a discus, and I started collecting them. My first buyers at that time. There was Steve McDonald's, Max Discus, Samson Chung, rest his soul. He's passed away now, but he used to run Universal Discus. There were a few others, but not many. I mean, Jack Wiley, of course, was around. And then a bunch of other new people were popping up at the time. But, I mean, during the 80s, I mean, you were able to buy 2.5-inch fish, 6 or 7, 8. Boom, maybe one would run out, and you would grow up these nice beauties out of these small batches of fish from these people. And yeah, it was a good time. But yeah, I got real lucky to start. Got a lot of good quality fish from people. Bought a lot from Samson, like I said. Bought a lot from Steve McDonald, which he used to get from Kitty in Thailand. And yeah, I went through my disease issues and losing fish and everything that everybody goes through. It's still happening till this day. But I really didn't learn a lot about medication and disease and treatments until I started importing fish. I was breeding, and I was like, oh, I'm on top of the world. I'm going to make some money. And, I was doing really good. I made a good name for myself until I started importing. And then that was a costly mistake. I don't regret it because I learned a lot, and it was a great experience to this day. I still will say that. And yeah, from there I learned a lot about that, and it worked out from there. Definitely cleaning your fish and taking care of your fish and quarantining your fish. They're gonna go so much farther, live so much
Right.
longer, you'll be more successful, with cleaner fish, cleaning your fish and quarantining your fish than you will just to keep throwing fish from all these sources and mixing them and not even worrying about it. It just doesn't work that way with discus like other fish.
No, a lot of the other fish, and even the mollies and the swordtails and the platies, they can all handle a lot of that the discus just can't handle.
Right. I agree.
Absolutely.
So where is everybody? They're like, oh, Cary's here. We're not fucking coming on. He's gonna be mean to us. Really, I'm a very, very, very passionate person. Very passionate about discus. Very passionate about the hobby. And
Yeah,
I
that's
don't mean to
something
come
people don't
across like
understand. We can get upset about, what's going on with the discus. It can, because we can get so frustrated with people not already learning the simple stuff and then having sick fish.
Right. It takes a lot out of you, man. I'll tell you that. It
Yeah.
can still happen to me right now. I could have just a leak on a tank, and that will take, lose a tank of fish, lose a tank, destroy part of my house. That's going to take a lot out of me.
Yep.
It's hard to bounce back from things like that, especially when you lose a $700 shipment of fish, whatever it may be, anything like that. It just does. And that's kind of where I'm at, and kind of why I kind of fight and get a little crazy sometimes. But really, I'm all love.
And y'all can believe that Cary has helped so many people and still continues to help so many people behind the scenes. And it's the same thing that I do is the helping behind the scenes. And you guys don't see that.
Right.
But a lot of that goes on. A lot
Yep.
of it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And yeah, Cary got heated over the bloodworm debate. And, I made my comments in there. I'm going to tell you this about bloodworms. If you want to feed them to your discus, feed them to your discus. If you don't want to, then don't.
Exactly. It is. And I shouldn't make a big fuss out of it. I maybe do so because I've been feeding it forever. Been doing it so long. I don't know why I gotta be so stubborn about it. I should just let it go. Many people have made many great responses to it. There are so many other better foods out there that your discus can be fed, and this is very true. I cannot deny that at all, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, bloodworms are bad for your discus. They're not bad for your discus. They're not, they're not the highest nutrient value of the foods out there, but they're not bad for your discus. But if you don't want to feed them, don't. It's that simple. Hi, Larry. Hi, Bob. Hi, Francis. Saji. Hi, everybody.
I better put my glasses on. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining
You
us.
got to read that, too. Hey, I can actually see you now.
I know. I moved up. I just put my glasses back on and noticed the light was just blaring into the screen. So I'm like, yeah, I better move. So, we need some company. Someone to rattle us. Come on, I need some rattling.
But you can start talking about some breeding, Cary. Everybody wants to hear about your breeding process.
Yeah, Pat sent me a message, wanted me to also bring it up. Yeah, I'm a little different, and there's so many ways to breed them. There's so many ways to raise them, so many ways to treat them. You got to work what is best for you and what's easiest for you. Definitely, that is key. I'm pretty much lucky. I have really good water. It's not I'm about 7 kh, 7 gh, so I'm not soft, I'm not hard, but I'm moderate. Really good pairs. I can pretty much breed in tap water. Not a 90% hatch out, but a pretty good hatch out. Usually the tough pairs, we have to add a little RO water into the mix, and I usually do like a 75% tap to 25% RO. And that's gonna change during the winter months. Your water during the summer and winter is gonna, harden and soften with runoff. You're gonna have different little elements leaking into your water, and that's normal. So you're always gonna have to tweak it, and you're gonna see that variance online. You'll see, oh, people, I'm breeding at 98 TDS, and the other guy's breeding at 20 TDS, and another guy's breeding at another TDS, and those are the factors that you have to really look at when people are breeding. Same with the salts in your water. Sodium chloride, potassium, manganese, magnesium sulfate. A lot of those salts are bad for fertilization during discus spawning. So you'll have a big variance. That's where the big variance comes in, because all these meters kind of measure everything as a total. They don't break anything down. So that's where the guessing game comes in, and that's where the different numbers come with different breeders. One guy might be a little higher in potassium, which is bad, or another guy is higher in sodium chloride, which is not bad. But their numbers might be totally different. And that's kind of where it lies. So I try to do that. I use a conductivity meter, and I just measure salts. I don't mess with a TDS meter. I don't really get into all the different heavy metals and all the other solids. But, if you're on a well, or other people in different areas might need to, where salts are really not an importance in breeding where you live and what water supply you're using. But I have to, and I'll mess with it every year. It's always different. It's never the same. It always tweaks to a different number. But I try to keep them, and I separate them all off. I always will tell everyone this: pairs that bond on their own, pairs that just take to each other, those are going to be your best breeding pairs. I'm not saying that forced pairing doesn't work, because it does. But you're going to get more fry. You're going to have better luck. They're going to be a very easy pair on the pairs you let pair up on their own. For some reason, it's just a stronger bond. They match. It's just something that they do, and I've noticed that throughout the 26, 27 years I've been doing this. And I also like very dim lighting, which is not right now. It's super bright in here because we're on doing this. And I pretty much do it out of my basement. I used to run a lot of fish, a lot of tanks. I have my own website, wholesale store, retail store. I did it all, and discus, the hobby goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. And you got to be passionate with it. You got to love it. I mean, if you really want to make a living at doing it and really pay for your hobby, if that's all you want to be as a hobbyist, and that's all I am now, is just a hobbyist. I just enjoy it. I want to pay for my food and just relax. I don't want to get any, like a business, so that's kind of what I do now. I just take it easy, and I enjoy
That's
it.
what we're wanting to say. We're wanting to say, just hobbyists. We've got a large fish room
Hey, William.
with a lot of fish. But we don't want to be more than hobbyists. We maybe sell some fish and make our money on the foods and stuff like that. But we don't want a store, and we don't want a high demand.
Right.
So
You can do it. I mean, I tell people all the time, if you're gonna breed, definitely you can offset your hobby. If you want to do it for a business, you might consider wanting to import and finding a reliable source, and you kind of got to go all in to make it happen. But it can be done. I'm not going to say, yeah, I failed at it, but again, the discus is like the gold and silver exchange. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. The good times are rewarding, and the bad times hurt. But it's that's the name of the game. That is with tropical fish. Anytime you're dealing with livestock's hard. Definitely. Real hard. A lot of work. A lot of upkeep.
Cary, you have to answer Hans's question.
What'd he say? I missed that shit.
He says, how can you do this for 27 years if you're only 28?
Thank you, Hans, great granddaddy. I wish I was 28. I still feel 28.
Well, I'm still 21, and I don't plan to change that.
Yes.
So
What up,
That
TJ?
decision was made just before my last birthday.
You been in this crazy area before? My spinning discus room. Woo! That's how I feed them. I just throw food up in the air.
Well, I'm sitting in front of the door to my fish room and looking at all the fish, and I'm not sharing today, so that's rude of me. But yeah, let's see, what else did they want? Somebody asked if female discus have menopause. Do female discus go through menopause like people do?
I would say not. No. I would say eventually 3 years they start to burn out. They slow down in egg production. I guess you could say they get crabby and cranky and want to fight a little more, but I mean, they'll still go. You give them a break, set them off to the side, feed them a little bit, throw them back in a breeding tank again. You'll get a nice batch, but you can't like keep them in a breeding system where you're counting on these guys every 10 days to produce. They just slow down after a while. I mean, your males are always good. I tell everyone, you get a good male, don't let that guy go. Keep him. He's always going to be gold, especially if you can throw him anywhere and he fertilizes all the eggs, gives you lots of babies. Those are the fish you want to keep. But yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, that's a hard one. I can't really speculate on it. But yeah, I mean, as far as what happens with age and females, I do see them try to, they kind of just slow down after a while. They're not reliable anymore.
Right.
Still good, healthy fish, but just the egg production is way, way, way low. And, when my biggest thing is when you're trying to get a pair to raise fry, I think the bigger hatch you get, there's a little more stimulation for the parents to raise the fry. And I've been a firm believer in that. But, I mean, still, again, good pairs, man. I've seen pairs raise up 2 or 3 fry, no problem. It does happen. Every pair is different, that's for sure. Every one of them.
Right. I've got a male that was with his female, and they had probably, I don't know, about 10 or 11 fry, and they didn't like that number, so they ate the fry. But on the flip side, I've got a male and female sitting right now with 9, and they're more than happy with their 9 fry. So, I mean, that too, I think, goes from pair to pair.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I do agree.
Something with fry rearing, and everybody's questioning it, everybody asks all the time, is the 4-week syndrome, Cary.
Right. Yes. Very true. It's very true. And it happens.
I'm going to say my piece, and then I'll let Cary say what he wants to say. We have got right now 4 batches growing.
Nice.
And we have raised 1 batch completely to adulthood. They're 2 years old now. And we haven't seen a 30-day syndrome. We have not treated the fry, and I'm going to knock on wood after this because that makes me nervous. But what is the cause? What is the reason that people need to just automatically pee or treat their fry? I don't see the reason for it.
Well,
Cary?
yeah. Well, let's start. Okay. So first of all, your pair. You definitely want to make sure they are clean before you breed them. Okay.
Right.
So everyone knows parasites are a problem. But what is the second problem that parasites cause? They cause secondary bacterial infections.
Exactly.
Just from the stress alone. So definitely cleaning your pairs up goes a long way. I'm not saying you still can't get a gill infection when they're little, even though your fish are very clean and you clean the pair, because stuffing 50 fry in a 40-gallon tank at dime size is not a good idea from the start. Lots of water changes are needed. Cleaning the slime off the glass, and that means the bottom, the backs, the sides, your airline tubing, your lift tubes, your bottom of your sponge filters. You don't want to have a high bio load of organic rotting waste, things like that. And baby brine shrimp will be another reason. A lot of people, I'm very bad at this. I'm lazy. I will drain the brine shrimp right into a cup, dump eggshells and the shrimp in it because I know I'm going to get on top of it. I know I'm going to clean my filter out, but new people don't know this. And they just pour it in, and those eggshells will cause bacteria. Dying brine shrimp, if you feed too much of it, can cause very bad bacterial problems. So definitely you can get this syndrome. Actually, what bacteria it is, I do not know. I haven't had it tested because it goes so fast. I mean, once you get it, if you don't jump on it, and it took me a while to catch on, if you don't jump on it quick, you're going to lose all those fry. If you jump on it quick, you're still going to lose some fry. But at the same time, you'll save some of them, and you'll go from there. The way I avoid it is, like Tammy said, start off with a clean pair. From there, it's all about moving your fry to nice big tanks. A lot of guys out there will say, oh, you're putting them in the giant tank. There's too much room to swim. They're going to lose energy and this and that. Yeah. Okay. If you only feed them once a day, that's very possible. But if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, feeding those fry 5, 6, 7 times a day, they have very fast digestive system, very fast metabolism. You feed them frequently. Not a lot, but you feed them frequently, often, and you'll do fine. You give them a lot of room, give them a lot of fresh water. You're going to double your chances of success just by moving them to a bigger tank. They grow so fast, too. You would be amazed how fast they grow by putting them in bigger tanks and supplying the food and supplying the quality water. It just goes so far. But yeah, I mean, can you still have problems with clean pairs? Yes, you still can catch bacterial infections just by not being clean enough or changing enough water. The fry need that to grow. They're not used to all the bacteria that are present in our water. And there are good bacteria and bad bacteria always present. And it's just a matter of the immune system of the fish. Once the fish starts to break down, starts to stress out, the immune system weakens, these things can grab a hold real quick and real fast, definitely. So that's my thing on that. Nigel.
Larry Bug asked about cleaning the fry, keeping the fly, or cleaning the parents. Essentially, I have an advantage on that because I know my way around a microscope. I know my way around the protozoa and what to look for. But essentially, you want to do a deworming. Make sure your fish do not have worms. If you do, say, a Prasian and metronidazole treatment, you're not going to have to worry as much about the fry later on because you already know that your parents don't have the protozoa, they don't have the worms, then you don't have to worry about the baby carrying them.
Exactly.
And being attacked by them. That's what we mean by clean parents. If the tanks are kept clean, the bacteria load's going to be low. Yep. For the breeding couple, you're not going to have to worry about bacteria attacking the eggs. And stuff like, I mean, it's fairly simple information. Most of us do it anyway. But I just don't see, the reason that we brought this up is because people are asking about the pee-pee dip or the pee-pee bath.
Right.
And I don't like the pee-pee. I don't like to put it on fish. Right. I have it. I use it on tanks. I don't use it on fish. That was the reason that I wanted to go into a little bit of the, keeping your parents clean. And I'm kind of glad that he mentioned that. I want to say there's so many safer methods of treating, but I don't know which ones are safe for fry. Metronidazole should be safe for fry. What about an infant Cary? About the 4-week age, or maybe older.
I've used flubenzenol, but it was a dewormer, so that's cut form. It wasn't true full dose flubenzenol. I've done fry at 8 weeks with a full dose of pure flubenzenol, but if I'm not mistaken, I think dewormer is cut form flubenzenol. I don't think it's all pure. I might be wrong. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it.
And I'm going to mention something that I talk to Dr. Floyd sometimes, and I had an issue with roundworms pop up in one of my batches. So I called her on the phone to talk to her about it. And there is no proof or research done on it But the researchers in Florida seem to think that it is possible that fish transfer roundworm the same way that adult dogs transfer roundworm to puppies. So there is a possibility that you may have fry, you may never have roundworm, but you may have fry that have roundworm. And so they may need to be dewormed the same way you deworm puppies before you send them to the new home.
Excellent bring up, Tammy. That's good to bring that up. It's always amazed me how that worked with dogs. Yes, great topic.
That is somebody. Then the reason I brought that up is somebody asked about the prophylactically worming your fish. If your fish don't have worms, they don't need to be dewormed. If you bring in new fish and you suspect that they have worms, deworm them. But if you don't bring any new fish in, there's no reason to deworm once you've already done it.
I would add on plants, snails, invertebrates.
Right.
Anything like that as well.
We had an incident not long ago with somebody introducing snails to their tank. And I want to be very clear on this. Snails carry a lot of parasites. I do recommend that you quarantine them the same way that you quarantine any other fish that's going into your discus tank. You need to quarantine snails. You need to quarantine plants. You need to quarantine everything.
I agree. You can definitely clean up plants with a loom. It's a beauty product. It's just a dip with the plants. And people have done it with potassium, but there's a lot of fuss with potassium saying, it doesn't kill like velvet, a lot of different protozoans. So I've heard people even use bleach, a cut solution of bleach to clean their plants. So just to make sure for the certain protozoans.
Yeah, and I'm one that I think everything needs to be cleaned before it goes into the discus tank. You still may get cross contamination, but at least you're not getting the protozoa. You're not getting the ones. You may get some bacteria problems, but you're going to get some of the other ones.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. Quarantine is a must. Cross contamination is serious. You can definitely catch all kinds of problems just by mixing fish from other sources. People will fight and argue about German fish and Asian fish being mixed together. As of now, that is not so true. A lot of these fish can be mixed together, just like people can be mixed together. It's just a certain precaution you have to take. It's all about quarantine, knowing where you're going, knowing what you're doing, and knowing what you're mixing. Same goes for people will apply to the fish as well. Now, when we get into like viruses, like herpes in the discus, those are different things. I lived through that. I mean, this was going on with guppies and angelfish and discus. This wasn't just happening with discus. It was happening with all fish. And this was something serious. There really wasn't a cure. A lot of success with a lot of salt was the main thing.
Guys, he's actually talking about the original Discus Plague. This is the real Discus Plague. Right. This is not cross-contamination when he's talking about the herpes virus. This is an actual disease that went through and wiped out a lot of fish.
Yes, this was really bad. I mean, it didn't matter what you did, what you tried. A lot of people, had success at trying to drop the pH very low. And we're talking like 6.4, 6.0, and trying to manage that is like really tough, especially when you're running a lot of tanks and a lot of fish, especially a lot of the farms. They were just wiped out. And a lot of guys, even like myself, when I first went through it, trying to chase down 100 tanks. So you got tanks that are sick and you're treating them. And then days later, you have more tanks sick, and then you start treating them. And then after a while, you're chasing this thing for 6-7 months through the whole hatchery. A lot of people have said this, and I've done this too as well. The second time it happened to me, I grabbed water from the sick tank, dosed all the tanks, and infected all the tanks purposely to treat it. However, this wasn't the virus. This wasn't the discus plague. This was just cross-contamination, bacterial more than likely gram-negative, really bad. But within 3 weeks, during treating the fish and infecting everybody at the same time and treating everyone at the same time, it ran its course faster and it was over. So yeah, that worked out good. But the virus was totally a different ball game. I mean, it's not like what you're seeing today. Don't know why it's so secluded now and not around so much. Everyone's took precautions, I know that, but yeah, this was bad. I mean, these fish would just darken, slime up. They would do the same thing for cross-contamination. That's why so many people say, oh, they got plague, they got plague, they got plague. Discus will react the same way to an array of different diseases. They will get black, get slimy, spider web, clamped fins, huddle, lay down. There's a little difference between some of them with the laying down and huddling and separating or lethargic. But I mean, this was so bad. I mean, eyeballs popping out, and there was really nothing you could do. It was so bad, you know. At that time, it was sad. It was very bad. And I had a lot of money invested in. I wish I could find some of my old pictures and show you guys. A lot of them are on Simply. If you look me up, just piles of dead discus in the backyard. I just put them in the, just to show everybody my experience and, you know, to help educate. And that's kind of how I thought about it.
The difference between, and I want to, because I've talked to people that had it, and I've talked to people that knew about it, but one of the things that helped to stop the discus plague was that the breeders, the farms that had sick fish, they culled or destroyed every fish that they had to stop this. It was a very, very bad virus.
Yes.
And in my estimation, they probably destroyed hundreds of thousands of fish in the process.
Exactly. I was not to, you know, butt in the way, but exactly what I was told from the pathologist in Missouri. He was like, you might want to just destroy them. Some of the bacterial infections. So along with this virus, as we're talking, this discus plague, there were also secondary bacterial infections along with this. So some of these can be contracted, not contracted, but humans can get them as well, is what I was trying to say. I can't think of the word, but they can be passed on to humans. So yeah, I was informed by my pathologist to destroy the fish, and that's kind of where I was going about my pictures in the backyard. It wasn't that I failed, even though I would have failed, but
no, nobody
I followed
through
orders.
it. I mean, plagues and viruses, they run through all of the animals. All animals will have at some point a plague or a virus that runs through them. It's nobody can stop it the same way they couldn't stop COVID. Right. It's just going through the animal population. They will build up an immunity to it at some point.
Right.
And I think that's where we're at now. But with cross-contamination, it's a totally different ballgame. That is completely treatable.
Yes.
But people are calling it the discus plague, which gives everybody the idea that there's some plague that's going around that the discus can get, and that's not true.
Right.
All it is bacterial infections, mostly.
Uh-oh, who's right? Who wrote that? I missed that. Sorry. Someone wrote something, but I missed it. Hi, whoever you are. You can write that again. I missed it.
Several people have. Dan Blackburn, the HSV was back in the 80s, early 90s, when we had an actual discus plague outbreak.
Right.
And it destroyed many, many fish. But 3 or 4 fish were sent to the University of Florida, and they were all found to have the herpes virus.
Yep.
So,
yep, and that went through the guppies, angelfish. I mean, it species jumped. It wasn't just cichlids. It went through live bears and all kinds of fish. And it goes through all kinds of animals too, like you were saying, Tammy. Cats, dogs, everything. So yes, very true.
Yeah. Cary, how do you quarantine snails?
I kill them. No, I don't like snails. I hate snails, but I do have a few mystery snails. The only way to quarantine a snail is it's really, really, really tough. dipped them in PP. I've lost a lot of them that way. Of course, you can't use any dewormers on them. That would kill them instantly. Copper kills them. Antibiotics are okay, but it doesn't kill parasites. It's a more of a clean environment, you know, trying to keep it separated and trying to keep it very clean. I'm not a big fan of snails, really. I'm not, and they are very hard to clean just because of the type of invertebrate they are. It's just, they're tough, very tough. They can hide all kinds of little things in their shells, inside their shells, on their body itself. I don't recommend them at all.
I don't either. I really don't like having snails, because snails carry more parasites than most fish.
Oh yeah.
Um,
They're like a
on to
motel.
the
Parasite motel.
Yeah. Do female discus stop growing once they start breeding?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of fuss with that too. Yeah, I mean, as far as I can see, I still react on that. When I see a female start spawning at 4 inches, I'm bummed out about it. But, you know, in all out truth, they do put a little more size on. And of course, we know with age, they thicken up, which makes them look a little bit better, a little bit bigger. But yeah, for the most part, once they start laying eggs, they're not really going to get too much bigger. That is true. To a point.
I've seen some grow. My melon female grew
Yeah.
further after, but I think at the point that she began getting to wiggler stage, I think that's about the time she quit growing. So I think as long as they're not getting too far in it, I think that they still grow some. I saw some growth with her.
Oh yeah.
The Stenker female seems to still be growing too. She's actually gotten bigger in the last 2 weeks. So I think they do to his extent.
That's awesome. I
Have
think.
you?
Go ahead.
Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. No, you go.
No,
You're on
because I'm
top.
not asking you a different
You're on
question.
top. You're on top. I'm on the bottom.
I'm not asking you a different question until you finish answering the last question. You wanted to say something.
I forgot already.
Oh. Somebody asked, have you seen the quality and genetics of discus change with all the inbreeding to produce strains?
Yes, definitely, yes. You're gonna see these guys throw up these pictures of these new spotted eruption, this, that, or the other, and yeah, you see 10, 12 giant fish. Well, out of a spawn of 200, you know, these are the best fish out of that. So you got to realize that. Yeah, there are ways to keep it going good, keeping good stock, line breeding it properly. But if you're buying fish, 8 of the same fish, and you're going to keep inbreeding over and over and over, you're leading into a dead end. You need to like separate lines or different sources of good stock and try to do that as far as crossing them and keeping the genetics pure and keeping a circle going as far as keeping that genetic pool rotated. You don't want to lead it to a dead end with bad fish from inbreeding. And that's what happens. You keep inbreeding, you weaken it, the size continues to shrink in. You don't get big fish anymore. And definitely with all these new lines, new varieties, new mutations, they are a lot smaller than what they should be. But then again, you will see people with giant size of these mutations, and these guys are doing things a little bit better. You know, are they still getting 200 giant fish? No, they are not. So if you take 2 wild fish and breed them together, you're going to get a lot of good fish, a lot of big fish, but you're still going to have some stuff you don't really want or that's not going to really grow. But nothing compared to the domestic strains. It's just so much different. It's just like I can't even really compare it to anything. It's just the way it is. Yeah, when you start inbreeding and locking in traits, you're always going to weaken that line. You're always going to start shrinking the size on it. So definitely outsourcing. A lot of good breeders use intermediate fish to outcross, especially a lot of these mutations. So, and that's how it's done properly to keep it going. Yeah, I mean, you gotta be careful with that, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, most of my fish are in outcrosses right now. I've got the only couples I've got that are not outcrosses are the heckles that I got from Cary and the melon couple. Those are my only ones that are not outcrosses. Everything else is on outcross right now. Can you explain the cause of short gill plates and bent spine in discus fry?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the deformalities with discus fry, the water's too soft, not enough minerals, not enough trace elements. Uh, a lot of spine issues were speculated that the water flow, airflow is too high when the fry were developing. So that was another big key. So yeah, I mean, I seen a lot of that when water was real soft while fry were developing. So you want to like, I usually try to switch back to pure tap water after the eggs are starting to hatch or going to hatch, um, just to avoid that. But I've noticed when I didn't do that at first, when I started breeding, I would keep the same RO water. Was very meticulous not to disturb anything and try to keep everything exact when I changed the water. Just crazy stuff. And you don't really need to be like that. But at first, when you're new, you do that. And there's nothing wrong with being cautious. Cautious goes a long way, and it helps you learn as well. But yeah, I mean, definitely seen a lot of that with real soft water. Even I used to use methylene blue too, and it seemed to have a lot of issues with that as well. I've stopped using that. I don't really use it too much anymore for anything except for when I ship some fish. But bend spine was a big thing, especially when you're artificially rearing fry. Bubblers too high. That was the main problem with bent spines and a lot of fry that were artificially raised was your air stone was bubbling too hard and there was too much aeration in the water. So yeah,
Right.
definitely.
I'm going to answer one from Annette Narrow. She wants to know about bacteria. Can the water be tested? The water can be tested for bad bacteria, but all water is going to have bad bacteria, including your drinking water. It has to, a lot of the bad bacteria, it's going to grow alongside your good bacteria. There's no way to get rid of it. I mean, you're going to have it. If your fish are healthy, their own immune system will keep them from getting infected with that bacteria. So it should never be an issue. But if something happens, like I had a few months ago, the temperature dropped in my Stenker tank, and I had a Stenker come down with bloat. And I have, I treated them as a bacterial infection because I knew that what they eat was good, but I knew it had to be bacterial infection. So I went ahead and treated for that, and that ended up being what it was. But now that she's, past that, she's fine. The bacteria is still in the tank, but it's not affecting her anymore. Anytime that you get a lowered immune system, you're going to get some response from that bacteria. They're opportunistic. If they get the opportunity, they will infect the fish. It's that simple. There is no cure for whirling disease, Francis.
Is it whirling disease though, Francis?
That's the other question.
There's a lot of speculation on that. I mean, there's a lot of anaerobic bacteria that can affect the central nervous system on fish, and most of it is good bacteria, and it's not supposed to do that. So I don't know. It's a tough one. There's no analogy on any of that right now, but they are. We know that parasites can species jump, so it's not out of the question.
Honestly, I think it may be multiple things causing the same problem. If you get a bacterial infection in the nervous system, it can cause it. On the flip side, you have parasites that also attack the nervous system and can cause it. So you don't know what is going on there, and you don't know how to treat it. Right. So
just by the parasites of the thinning of the blood in the fish from parasites infestating the fish, definitely cause that. Yes. I agree.
Todd, the ick medication that we both prefer, which we don't use it for ick, is Riddick Plus, and we use it for cross-contamination issues because it has formalin in it, which fights off the bacteria. that's involved in the cross-contamination.
Yep, my favorite sport drink, formaldehyde. Malachite green too is a very, very, very other key point to that. So yes, very good stuff.
You're so bad, Cary. Malachite green is bad. Don't get it on your skin.
Yeah, you don't want. Well, you don't want to get formaldehyde on you either. You don't want to breathe it.
Yeah, you don't want formaldehyde on your skin either. So wear gloves.
Both products are known carcinogenics in the state of California and a few other states. So, yeah.
Yeah, do be careful with the medications that you use. Some of them are not good for people.
Yes.
Fish can handle it, but people can't. So
that's why another reason is a lot of these meds are not recommended in food fish. So there's a reason for it. Definitely.
Yep. Say, I know I saw another question in there somewhere. I was trying to find it.
You're good at this, Tammy, finding the questions. I'm just seeing this shit pop up and I float away.
You're not scrolling back.
Oh, I can do that? Let me see if I can do it. Oh, there you go. Whirling disease, Francis. Jason, Allen, Tammy, can you share your process for using the microscope and what you look for? That's good. I think we should answer that, Tammy.
Yeah, I was thinking about how to answer it because I don't follow all the rules all the time. So how about if we do it the way it's supposed to be done?
Right.
Because you're supposed to take a poop sample from the behind of the fish. And yes, I'm watching my language. And you can use whatever method you can use. We have an air hose attached to what used to be a net, the handle on it, and we just use that to go in and pull it from the behind of the fish. And from there it goes into a petri dish.
See if I can get a little better side view.
I might do a microscope later and show people the process. I don't have my microscope in the fish room, so, but from the petri dish I use a little syringe and I pull it out and put it onto a slide, put a slip cover on it, and then look at it under the microscope. And I'm looking for any protozoa that's there, and a lot of times I have to look them up on the internet because there's always seems to be something new, always. But what people don't realize is we always say don't take the poop from the bottom of the tank. It doesn't matter if you take the poop from the behind of the fish, you're still going to have some protozoa from the water, because the protozoa don't just live on the bottom, they actually swim around in the water. Two, if you're in there with a hose and your fish see this hose, do you really think they're going to sit still and let you take that poop? Because that's not going to happen. The first time that the fish swims to the bottom of the tank, that poop touches the bottom of the tank and picks up everything under the sun. So everything that's on the bottom of your tank is in that poop. The way that I have found to combat that, or to figure out what is parasitic, what is non-parasitic, is I've taken more than one sludge from the tank and I have looked at it. I've noted every parasite in the sludge. Not parasite. They're not parasites. Protozoa, there are actually free living roundworms. There are bacteria. There are worms, flatworms that live there. There's a lot of stuff that lives in there. I actually have a video, and I'm probably going to post it in the groups pretty soon. We took out one of the sponge filters from the tank in the house the other day, and it had a lot of sludge on it. I took some samples from it. I put them under microscope. I did a few videos of that to show what lives in the aquarium, because people don't realize they see the poop and they see stuff moving, and I've seen it all the time. They've done this, they've done their microscope because everybody says, oh, you don't know what you've got unless you microscope it. So they microscope it, but then they've got all this moving stuff and they don't know what it is.
Right.
So.
And
I
if you
got
have
one.
and if you have a planet tank, it makes it much more complicated.
Oh no, planet tank, you're gonna have way more stuff. Yeah, and I know people love their planet tanks. I like a decorated tank. I don't really much care for the plants. I think that's just too much work in an aquarium.
Yeah.
But I do like a decorated tank, and my main tank was, and it was really pretty until I learned some stuff about some of the bacteria. Um, William Wayne, have you ever dealt with eye injuries from another fish attacking? We'll let you have that one, Cary.
Say that again.
Have you ever had eye injuries from another fish attacking?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'll be the first to say this. Anytime discus fight, they seem to know what they're doing as far as damage. So they will continue to hit the same spot on the fish they are attacking over and over and over. And this is how serious injuries occur. And they will just keep blasting this spot. To go off subject, even when you take baby fry, I've been in a predicament where I've had too many fry, and I've took dime-sized fry and mixed them in with maybe pea-sized fry, and the dime-sized fry, the first thing they go for are their eyes. All of them is the first thing they do. So yeah, definitely be careful with that. You just kind of got to watch and be prepared. But they will do that no matter what. I mean, I've seen it constantly. I argue with Hans about this, especially if Hans, you're still here. But Hans says, just keep them together, keep them together. They'll work it out. They'll work it out. And yeah, for the most part, they will work it out. But I mean, when you're seeing damage like the epidermis is gone, then you really need to move these fish. You need to get them out of there and separate them. So
yeah,
definitely.
I'm going to add to that. I've got a pair that they paired off themselves. They chose each other. And the female was the tank boss. And Cary already knows because I told Cary all about this. My discus reminded me a couple of weeks ago that they are indeed cichlids. That everybody says, I'm going to get discus because they're peaceful, nice fish. They're just so peaceful. They are not peaceful fish. This tank boss and her mate had fry, and she, I guess, didn't want him to have the fry, and so she was picking on him. And he's big. He's a really big fish, and she's a smaller fish. And she kept picking on him, and he finally turned on her and nearly killed her about 2 weeks ago. And that scared the crap out of me. These fish can be aggressive. They can do damage to each other.
I agree. It can happen, definitely can happen.
What do you do if your hero fish gets cross-contamination? Is there a way to treat the new stock, or would you get rid of the new stock?
Oh, no. Why would you get rid of it? Definitely, something's going on. That's the whole point of the hero fish. I'm going to do it myself here, and I'm probably going to take a video. I'm going to mix a German fish with some recent fish that just came in a couple days ago. Not going to do it yet because I'm not stupid, but give me about 4 weeks. I'm going to cut the 6-week QT a little short, and we'll see what happens. But I'm going to take a video of it and make it live, and so everyone can see. But definitely try to treat. Use what everybody's using right now. It's the success rate for everyone that's been using it for this type of thing has been good. So why not? You're never going to know what it is fast enough, even if you send a fish off. Yeah, you can use it for later on and for your educational purpose, but cross-contamination, bacteria is what's going on right now, and that's usually what everybody's seeing. So definitely try to treat it. You possibly can, the fish will look like they're near death. And, when I was new to this and I first seen it, I would swear the fish would have been dead yesterday. And then after treating, of course, they always look worse before they look better. You got to get over that 5-day period where they start showing signs of healing. But you would be amazed what they can come back from. They're very tough, very strong fish. And I would definitely recommend trying to do something about it for sure.
Right. Somebody said, since medication is an issue in Canada, are
Yes.
stinkers a better choice? Are they, sorry you guys, are they generally cleaner with regards to parasites, worms, etc.? So my opinion on this is you may or may not have issues no matter where you buy your fish from, and you need to find out what is available ahead of time and know what your choices are for treatments. I do know it's different in Canada, and I think that everythingaquatic.net sends medications to Canada, but you'd have to check with Dina on that.
Right.
I really am not 100% sure on that. But I do recommend, if you're going to order fish, try to have some of the basics, your metronidazole, your praziquantel, and maybe something like levamisole on hand.
Yes, I agree. Most of these farms, nothing against Hans, nothing against the Asians, nothing against anybody. When you're running a large fish farm, you're going to have fish infected with things. Flukes are common with discus. It's just there. These are things that, yeah, you have to take care of. You can't blame the breeder or the farm for it. It could come from the food they use. It could come from just mixing fish from other sources. And that's what a lot of farms do to create new strains. They trade. They mix match. They do this. They do that. And they do quarantine. But parasites are a little bit harder to quarantine than bacteria. If it's not done the right way. So it can spread very fast, very easily, and still at the same time, the fish are so strong and the immune system so strong because of the good care that you wouldn't even know they're infected with parasites. It's not until you go to breed them or there's a stress occurs, like you lose a heater or the power goes off or things like that. The same way Columnaris works. Most fish carry it in the wild, and it doesn't affect them until drought or many days of heat or many days of cold or overcrowding, things like that will cause this. But for them to show the signs of it. But for the most part, the fish are pretty tough. Like I said, they can fight many of these things off, and the farms are not going to go treating for flukes and stress everything out because they're going to be fine as long as they're managing it. It can be managed, is what I'm saying, pretty much.
Yeah. Dan, I think everybody's water change regimen in cold weather is different depending on how they do it. But because I can't say my water change schedule because mine doesn't change because we use hot water in our water changes. He's asking, he doesn't have much space. He's
Mm-hmm.
wanting to know, would you recommend smaller water changes more frequently?
Definitely in the winter, that's the way to go. If you can't store water and you can't put some in a 55-gallon drum, that's kind of what I do in the winter. So I'm a little bugged on room myself in my little basement. I used to be a giant fish hatchery, but I closed it down and we made it into a bedroom. But so I do have a 55-gallon drum, and I will take that 55-gallon drum and use probably 10% of the water for all 12 tanks and then mix it with tap just to get that bigger water change in. But in the winter, if I forget to fill the barrel or something happens, because that always happens, then I'll just do very, very small tap water changes. In the summer, I don't have problems, but in the winter, I'd be careful. Yes.
Right. Hi, Joe. Joe says hi,
Joe.
Cary.
Hi, Joe. I need to. I'm so computer illiterate, you guys. I'm scrolling now. While females will continue to grow while carrying fry, that husband. I don't know if that's a question or an answer.
I think that was an answer for when we were talking about the females stopping with growth after they lay eggs and stuff. I think she was saying that the females continue to grow on the wilds. And I think that may be somewhat different with the domestics I do think that they grow some, but I think they get to a certain point that they just stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, I'm not like a full that they don't grow at all, because they still grow some, definitely. Even the domestics, not much, but you'll still get some size.
Cary, you want to talk about Hexameta for a minute?
Yeah, I guess we could. Why not?
Well, I've got theories on Hexameta from doing the research, and I want your input on it. I've written an article about it, citing the sources. If anybody wants to look for it, it's somewhere on the Simply page. You can search my name and probably find it.
Awesome.
They did research for growing the protozoa for testing. So you have to know how to culture it. You have to know how to grow it in order to test it. So the two studies that I looked at were for two different colleges. One was on the growth of Hexameta, and it talked about the declining of the protozoa in high heat, which we already knew.
Right.
But they also talked about the fact that at a pH below 6 and a pH higher than 8, within 24 hours, all the protozoa were dead.
I believe that.
The separate study was done with angelfish, and they came up with above 8.2, the protozoa were dead, and below, I want to say 5.8. Their range was a little bit higher, a little bit further range, but they didn't test every range. They only tested the 8.2, but they went from 7.5 to 8.2, so they didn't test in between. What are your thoughts on that? I think that above 8, it takes them out, and below 6, it takes them out.
I agree with you 100%. I'm going to go back a little. I'm going to change it a little bit and go a little different on you. But let's go to the Amazon, the river itself. The pH of the water is so acidy in some spots where these fish are collected that bacteria aren't even present.
Right.
Parasites aren't even present. Certain types of parasites cannot live in these acidy waters. Same with bacteria. That's why it's a good thing that this river, the source of the river is the Andes, and it's flushing constantly.
Yeah.
Just cleaning this water. And the rainy season, it rains, all day in the rainy season. When it ain't the rainy season, it still rains every day. So this is what is going on, and this is why we have this cross-contamination problem, keeping the discus at the higher pH. Same with the parasite problems. The higher pH water has brought all this out. Just like I see when people are breeding, they'll use these herbal teas. I think you use some of it. Great, definitely. Even I'm a little lazier now, but I've noticed when I use phosphoric acid in my breeding water, things go a little bit easier. There's a little more slime coat too as well with the parents. They build up a better slime coat. But definitely pH has a big factor with a lot of these parasites and bacteria for sure. I totally agree. I totally agree. I think this is why we see so many more problems with discus, domesticated discus, and everyone with the higher pH water. Even with your filtration, you're not going to get that filtration with you try to run your tank at 6.0 pH, you have no filtration. It's all about water changes now because it's just too low. So it kills bacteria, it kills parasites. Yes, I totally agree.
And see, I'm one of the lucky ones. I sit just above 8, so I don't have a lot of the problems with a lot of the parasites. I still have had capillary I've had to deal with here and there, but that's easily treated.
Yeah.
But I have yet, not once, from the samples I've taken, not one time have I ever seen the Hexameta. I have never seen it. And that's surprising because I have angelfish, I have discus, I have tetras, I have cories, and I've just never seen it. And I think it's because my pH is above that 8, where the line is for the Hexameta. And I think that may be that way for other protozoa, but unfortunately I haven't had time to look at all of them yet.
Right.
But, Michael, if your pH is going from 7 to 7.8 overnight, you need to be aging your water before you do your water changes.
Tip of the
And
day.
you need to check, not just in an overnight. You probably need to check it at the 24-hour mark and check it at the 48-hour mark to make sure it's not changing even more.
48. I like that.
Once you find where your pH stops, that's the amount of time you need to age your water before you do your water changes.
Well said.
Thank you.
And when you use acid, you need to wait 48 hours. Then it's accurate. Can't do 24 hours.
Yep. It's a good idea to check at 24 and check again at 48, because if it only takes 24 for it to top out, then you only have to wait 24 before you do your water changes. Hey, Cary, there's you a question.
Uh-oh.
Does high or low temperature affect the sex of the hatching eggs?
They are not reptiles. So I don't think this has anything to do with fish. I think it's more of a reptile issue with heat and cold. So I'm not a firm believer in that with fish. No.
Yes, hexameta is opportunistic, and it is, for the most part, in all cichlids, it is always present.
Yes, I agree on that as well.
But I do think it's opportunistic. If their stress level goes up, their immune system goes down, you'll start seeing some symptoms of it. I also think that there's a possibility that if you can get rid of the stress, you can get rid of the hex, because their immune system does work to keep the hexameta out. So if you can boost their immune system naturally, you might be able to get their immune system to knock the hexameta back out of them. Or not back out of them, but get it where they're not being affected by them anymore.
Where it's not symptomatic, right?
Right. Another thing I want to address while I've got Cary here is, if you have white poop and your fish is active and your fish is eating and your fish is interacting with other fish, do not throw medicine at those fish. There is nothing wrong with it. It's just got some white poop. Right. You need to watch it, yeah. If it starts acting, sick, stops interacting, stops eating, then you want to look at medicating. But if your fish is normal, it's swimming around, it's eating food, but it has some white poop, that just means he's stressed out. That's it.
Yep. Could be just stomach lining from not eating, or could be something that he ate, or just a buildup of bacteria. Could be many things.
You can boost their immune system with their food. The same vitamins that we use, the B12, the antioxidants, a lot of the same things that we use for our own immune stress, our immune system, is some of the same things that boost a fish immune system. Our immune systems actually work pretty much the same.
Very true.
What systems are best? Sponge, canister, sump? Yeah, I'm kind of partial to sponges, but I got canisters and sponges, and I've got a sump, but I'm partial to the sponges at the moment.
Yeah, sponges are a lot easier to maintain depending on what your goals are. If you're just like raising fish to breed fish, you're running bare bottom tanks, no plants, sponges, filters are the way to go. I'll still run an aqua clear, especially with fry tanks, just to get some extra filtration. But I do love sumps. They put a lot of aeration in the water. They're a little more forgiving as far as water quality goes. They keep up on water quality a little bit longer. I know a lot of people have written down things that are bad, like they can evaporate or they can overflow when the power goes off. But there are many things to do to stop all that. Just a simple drip system will stop the evaporation, keeping everything covered. And then you want an emergency overflow, and a backflow preventer will stop any flooding or anything like that. I'm a big fan of sumps. I wish I could put sumps on everything, but they do take up room. So
I have a sump on the 150, and guys, we're getting an ice storm tonight. We had to hook up a generator yesterday, and we had to test it. We turned the power off to the fish room, and I was informed that by the time that they got the power back on in the fish room, the sump was at the very rim of overflowing over here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, yeah.
he said if one more drop of water had been in that tank, it would have overflowed my sump.
Yes.
So you do have to, have your safeties in check. And because if the power goes out, you can't very well overflow that sump.
Yes. Yep.
A lot of my tanks, not all of my 55s are only on sponge. I have canisters in here. I've got hang on the back filters in here on some of the tanks, just depending on what's going on with that particular tank. So it kind of varies, I think, depending on what you're wanting to do with that tank. Jason Allen wants to know why people are so unwilling to accept clean water as a solution to illness, but only want to throw medications at the fish. If I say the reason, a lot of people are going to get mad.
Well, you go ahead.
People are lazy. They're just flat lazy. They don't believe that changing the water will help. But changing the water is another way of boosting immune system. They're absorbing minerals from the water to boost their immune system and to grow, and for a lot of reasons. And if those minerals aren't replenished, they get stressed out, they start having white poop, and you have issues. But if you change the water, you replenish those minerals, that gives the immune system a little bit of a boost. It helps the fish de-stress and can help their immune system fight off an illness.
True.
The same way that we fight off illnesses. If I get sick, I don't go to the doctor and get medicine. Well, I mean, unless it's really bad, right?
Right.
If I get a cold, I don't go to the doctor and say, give me some metronidazole or nitrofurazone or give me some medicine that I don't need. The fish are the same way. They have an immune system. They can fight off their own illnesses, but they have to be helped with that. They have to be in a clean environment and have to be helped with that.
Very true. And a lot of like cloudy eye, the pimples, the little bacteria spores, frayed fins, things like that. All that is just water changes. No meds needed. Water changes. Takes care of all that and most other things as well.
Yeah. And another good boost to the immune system is using salt. It de-stresses them and boosts their immune system. Why not, try that first before you start throwing every medication at them?
Right.
Prazipro, I prefer to use Praziquantel Pure. But if you cannot get Pure Meds in Canada and you can get Prazipro, yeah, that would probably be the go-to right there. I didn't know if they could get it up there, but yeah, if you can get Praziquantel up there and there's not another medication available, that would be your go-to medicine.
Yes, I would just add in an extra treatment of that. That's all I would do, or even tweak up the dose a little bit. You can pretty much do the math and figure it out from pure form from what's in Prazipro.
Mm-hmm. And if you think you have gill flukes because your fish is not breathing through one gill, add salt to the water for 24 hours.
Yes.
Cary, this one's for you. Should microbe lift Artemis be added daily or weekly to the tank?
It is supposed to be added daily to the tank with a 25% water change. Now, we're talking fish. We're into discus, so we know discus like water changes. So we are going to dose that daily, and we're going to do a nice big water change of 40%, if not 50, requiring that you have the right water to change the water, and you're not just slapping in cold tap water or whatever. You're prepared. So yeah, you want to change the water daily, and you want to redose daily. That is the best success rate with that stuff. It is about 10 days before you really start to see a change, but this stuff's pretty amazing. I've seen some pretty amazing things with it, as far as like emaciated, bloated, fat lips, pop eye, swollen abdomen, just lethargic and full of, you know, when the fish is infected with these things, with bacterias, their organs build up fluids to try to protect the organs. So that's why you'll get a lot of this bloatiness and lethargic looking. But yeah, that's definitely, I would change the water daily and treat daily. And that's kind of the way you do it with discus. A lot of medications will say that, oh, every 24 hours, every 48 hours. Dewormers are different. I'm speaking of antibiotics, antibacterial agents, dyes, chemicals, so on and so on. But that's how you want to do it with this stuff. Even even antibiotics. Even antibiotics. When I used antibiotics real heavily, I would treat them. Next day, water change and redose full dose, and that's how I went about it. So yes, definitely.
All right, I'm gonna answer a question, and you've got another question.
Surely.
Ray, I do not keep salt in my tanks. I reserve salt for treatment if the fish are not acting like they should be. I will add salt first and wait to see if there are any other symptoms that show up so that I know what I'm treating for. But salt is a great immune booster if they're not feeling well. I do not keep it in the tanks. I would not do salt after every water change.
Nope.
Okay, Cary, when do you stop feeding baby brine shrimp to the fry?
Usually about nickel size, dime size, I'll start cutting back on it. I will, like I said, I tell everybody this. When you have a lot of fry, that's the best time to get them on the foods that you want to feed, the foods that are available to you, the foods that aren't costing you so much. That's the best time to train your discus to eat these foods. I try to get them off brine, like I said, as soon as, you know, pea size, nickel size. They're already eating flakes. They're already eating blackworms, shaved bloodworms, brine shrimp flakes. A array of different foods is very good for them. Like I said, brine shrimp can get bad, especially if you're overfeeding it. It's getting stuck in your filters, the eggshells, just the brine shrimp dying. You don't want to just depend on brine shrimp. Definitely the best food to start fry off at, yes, but you gotta still be careful with it, just like with any food, for sure.
We start ours with baby brine shrimp, and I think it's around the week and a half mark. We'll be feeding the parents a little bit of beef heart or some granular or some flakes, and you'll see the babies, they'll start eating that on their own.
Yes.
And that's usually when we'll start trying to introduce more foods to make sure that they're getting other foods in too.
Yeah, and you'll see the pairs hate it. It's like sandpaper going through their gill filaments, especially if you're overfeeding baby brine and it's everywhere in the tank. You gotta be careful of that. You know,
yeah.
Some pairs can deal with it. They'll hide. You'll see them hide off in the corner and try to get away from it. So yeah, be careful with it. You know, use it sporadically. Great food, good choice. Definitely the best for fry. The protein content is so high, but you still have to manage it in a correct manner. Definitely.
I usually have at least one fish of my couples that just cannot stand it, and I think we ended up, and I think in the one of my other pairs, we end up taking that fish out and just leaving the one parent if it bothers them that bad.
Yeah.
Because some of them, we had one that he wanted to jump out of the tank. He was so bad with it. We ended up moving him out and just leaving the mom with him. All right, let's see. More questions, anybody? Because I don't see any. Yep. Are there new or better alternatives to baby brine shrimp?
Whew, that is a good question for sure. I mean, there's a lot of claims out there that there are better foods out there, but are you home all day? Are you able to manage your water quality? I think as far as someone being busy, having a full-time job and trying to raise baby discus, your best choice is live foods. It's gonna, it's gonna save you on your water quality. As far as like, different high protein Tetra bits or any kind of pellets or things like that, they're going to be rough on the water. So yeah, I mean, it depends on your situation, your time, how much time can you put into these fish and fry and what you're doing. But I'm not saying it can't be done without baby brine, because yeah, it can be done. Many people have done it without baby brine. Many people do what I do without live worms or bloodworms. Uh, Again, I've seen people raise fish just on flakes, just a basic flake food. Grow monsters, grow fry, do everything that's right. There are many ways to breed and raise discus, that's for sure. It's just you got to work your little water quality issues in with it, and your time and your schedule, and what you can do and what you can't do, and what works best for you, and that's how you nail it.
Yeah. Okay, Dave Mathis wants to know if we rinse the salt off the baby brine shrimp. I do mine in RO water.
I don't. I'm lazy. I just dump it. But I used to be real to the book, and I would rinse it all the time. But lately, these last 7 years, I've kind of just make sure I collect a lot of shrimp and not so many eggshells. I take my time collecting it, and I make sure when I'm dumping it, I dumping it pretty well. I don't just like dump a lot in there. So yeah, I'm real precautious on what I do, but that's with experience. When you've been in it for so long, you learn these little stupid things that maybe people don't bring up. But why not rinse it if you got the time? If you can do it, do it.
Is Ocean Nutrition dead baby brine shrimp a good substitute?
Say that again. I missed.
They want to know if the Ocean Nutrition baby brine shrimp is a good substitute. I'm assuming this is dried.
Probably frozen.
It says dead, so I mean, but yeah, I get what he's saying, but I don't know in what type that is. But still, I don't know if it is. I think once they're dead, they lose some of their nutrition.
Yeah, I would think so. Especially when you freeze them too, you'll get a little bit of you'll lose some nutrition as well. That's what I do is I'll hatch a bunch of them out and I'll freeze them and use them for later. Once the fry are taken to live, they'll take to frozen pretty easily. So yeah, I mean you could do that, but then again, do you trust your source where you're getting it from? Did they collect the shrimp at the right time, or are they just hatching out pounds and pounds and letting it go and collecting? Because when brine shrimp hatches, the best time to collect it and feed it to your fish is right when it hatches, when it has that egg yolk sac on it, it's still attached to it. That's where all the protein comes from. So, I mean, you could do it yourself. I know there's a lot of companies that sell frozen baby brine, and people have had success with it. But I would still prefer to do it myself, freeze it myself, hatch it myself, collect it myself, and then I know. So I'm for sure that I know.
I was showing my cheap brine shrimp hatchery.
Now, I got one of those. So I'll give you a little trick. So if you want to make it not so flimsy, a Coke bottle will slip right into a Pepsi bottle, so you can be double walled.
Oh, it's so easy. Yeah.
Do you see the
yeah.
new brine shrimp hatcheries with no air?
Huh?
They have new brine shrimp hatcheries where you don't need any air.
I haven't heard of that. Oh yeah, wait a minute. I think I have heard of that. I think somebody told me about that.
Yeah, Brine Shrimp Direct is selling them. I have a good friend that just bought one and he's using it. Not for like a major amount of fry, but it's something for like the hobbyist that has a few tanks for sure. It's good. It's pretty good.
They're asking about the blackworms, Cary.
Uh-oh.
How do you keep them? How do you raise them? There's actually several questions. How hard is it to grow them? And they're wanting to know the cleaning and maintenance schedule of your breeders. So you got a lot of questions right there.
So the worms. The worms are important. Gotta definitely make sure you get them from a clean source, and still don't trust that source. So the way worms are contaminated are by fish being in these blackworm ponds, birds pooping in the water. These are many ways that worms can get contaminated. It's up to you to collect them. And what I do is I use waste RO water to rinse them out. So I'll bring in 10 pounds at a time, and they will sit in a concrete tub. It's a big black tub that you mix concrete in. I cut it with bulkheads so I can drain water and fill it with ease. I make sure I purge them for at least 4 to 5 days before I feed any of them to my fish. And that means a constant flow of water. And again, I use the waste RO water, which is all the hardness. They love that high pH. They love hard water. That's what worms really grow off of and do well on. And cold. It's got to be kind of cold as well, and you won't have any problems. But as far as growing them, you're not really going to benefit on getting much out of them growing them in my concrete tub. I probably get a little bit of separation, and I probably make a 1/4 pound over 2 months, but that's really nothing. If you really, really wanted to like produce worms, you would have to really do it like in an outside setting. Somewhere like in Florida would be great. Michigan's not a good spot for me because I get cold. But I've heard people doing them in ponds, like kiddie pools, or even little small little vats. And that's when they've had great success, as far as producing more worms. Again, you have to feed them, you have to water change them, so it becomes, another part of your, now you're taking care of your fish, and now you got to take care of your food. So think about that. And I'm always in there, and you got to scrub these things down. These concrete tub gets slimy within a day. You have to get that slime scrubbed off. So I have it on a bulkhead with a 90 and maybe like a 2-inch piece of pipe sticking out of it. So I can like turn it, drain it all the way down, and then flip it back up. And when I flip it back up is when I scrub it all down. When I grab the worms to feed the fish, you don't want them to leave a slimy residue on your hand. If there's a slimy residue on your hand, your worms are not clean. That's a bacteria growing on them. And if your fish are eating that, that's going right inside your fish. So you want to make sure that you grab these worms, you feed your fish, and your hand feels like you just put it under the sink and washed it. It should feel like that. It shouldn't leave no residue on your hands. And those are bad worms. So there is a lot of maintenance to them and keeping them clean. And it's a little tough, and sometimes I feel like giving it up. But the thing is I work a lot and I put a lot of hours in, and the worms save me that time as far as water quality goes and feeding my fry to keep them going through the, first 7 to 8 weeks, that hard point. That's the hard time with the fry, keeping them going. Once you get past there and you get them on the other diets that me and Tammy were talking about, and you start introducing those and you get them on that, then you're scot-free. Get them off the brine, ease up on the worms, so once a day, ease up on everything, and it goes pretty well. But as far as like trying to bring them in and reproduce them, don't waste your time. Not worth it. Should I lose?
Somebody came in late and wants to know again about the 30-day syndrome.
Yeah.
I can't reiterate enough. Make sure your parents do not have parasites before you breed them. Keep your tanks extremely clean. Daily water changes, wiping everything down, the whole 9 yards, and you will not have issues.
Right.
I don't see any reason why anybody should treat their fry unless they're showing symptoms. I've heard of people, they say, oh, my fish are almost to that 30-day mark. I need to PP treatment them. Why? If they're not showing symptoms of being sick, don't treat them. PP is dangerous if it's not done right. Most people do not know how to do it right. And there's just really, there's so many safer things you can use, really.
Right. There is. Very true. And you need to know how to take care of them after the PP treatment, because
Right.
there is a lot of damage. If you don't know what to do afterwards, as far as salting them and water quality goes after that, you could run into a lot of problems. That's for sure.
Yep.
And yeah, to add on to that, big tanks too. You can't move these guys. You can't move 50 to 100 fry in a 40-gallon tank. You gotta think big. You gotta go 75. You gotta go big. If you think big and you do your water changes and keep everything clean, like Tammy said, you should have no problems. It should be a cinch.
Yeah. I've got 3 batches that have gone past the 30-day mark with no medications. Like I told Cary earlier, I'm going to knock on wood since I said that. But we try to keep them clean. We don't overfeed. You know, and if you're doing everything, your parents are clean, and you're doing everything the way you're supposed to, you shouldn't have any issues.
Right.
We're using all 55-gallon tanks. One of our batches is close to 30 fish in it. That's a little bit too many in that tank, so we have actually split that batch up to keep it cleaner. You know, if you've got a really big batch, you can split that really big batch up into multiple tanks so that you can keep it cleaner, easier.
Right.
And the smaller amount that you have in there, probably the easier it is to keep from having issues.
Yes. That's how this thing came up with the syndrome. A lot of people went through it. I went through it. Everybody pretty much who breeds discus goes through it one time or another, and you learn from there. And you'll see it day to day on the internet and on the forums. But if you really investigate, you'll find out not changing enough water, too small of a tank, overfeeding. All these things will start to click if you just investigate.
Yep. Bob Fryer's asking about freeze-dried blackworms. Are they safe to feed?
I've been feeding them ever since I got back into it. I started using them, which was about 7 years ago, and I haven't seen any really big problems with them. They can be pretty rough on water quality here and there. I've noticed that, but freeze drying is not, again, a cure for getting rid of parasite eggs. I know things can live through freeze drying, so you got to be careful with that. I haven't noticed anything yet so far. So far so good. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Again, that's another thing. Your source. Are these guys doing what they're supposed to do before they freeze dry these worms, or are they just throwing them together? I've got a few people I know that bought freeze drying machines and started freeze drying blackworms because they thought they were going to take over the industry and give a cheaper price and make things better. Well, they found out the hard way that it doesn't work that good and it's not that easy. And there's a right time to freeze dry worms and there's a wrong time to freeze dry them. There's steps that need to be taken before it's done. And and I'm a big fan of Australian blackworms. Yeah, I've got some issues with Dan. Me and Dan been tight buddies for 20 years. We've been good pals. He's done everything for me. I've done everything for him, and that's how we got started on worms. But me and Dan kind of had a little fallout. But honestly, I do prefer the Australian worms over the California blackworms. Nothing against Dan or our issues, but the worm is just a better quality from Australia.
All right. Have you noticed bigger fry generally have a higher percentage of being male?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always that exception, though. I mean, definitely that is true to the case. Mostly your bigger fish and your spawns are going to be your males, but every now and then a female will pop up and surprise you. So it happens. It does happen. But for the most part, when you're raising up fry and collecting them, you should always keep bigger fish and some smaller fish. I've made that mistake many of times where I've want all the big fish. And just recently I did that with my pigeon bloods. I ended up with 13 males and 3 females. Yes. Yes. So it does happen. You got to be careful with that.
Where do you buy your live blackworm?
I buy them from Craig at Eastern Aquatics. Very hard guy to deal with. He's going to drill you. He wants to know that you can take care of them, especially if you're going to buy any type of amount. If you're going to buy big amounts, he will drill you and make sure that you can take care of them, and he will make sure you pay friends and family so he doesn't have to refund you if you kill them all. So a little hard to deal with, but if you know what to say to them and how to go about it, and if you're not buying like 10 pounds like me, then it shouldn't be a problem. But that's where I get them from. And they are, I mean, they are pretty darn clean. I mean, there's a few leeches in there, but nothing like I've seen in the past from other places. So I'm pretty happy with them. I am, very much so.
Cary, do you have your Tito's today?
Does that answer your question? You didn't think it was cocoa milk. Yeah, I had to. I never did anything like this before. People will say, "Oh, you're so condescending. You're so arrogant online." I'm really not. When I was in business, I couldn't do that. I couldn't pat myself on the back, and I wouldn't argue with people. But I'm just a hobbyist now. I can care what people think about me. I don't rely on Discus to make money. So if someone doesn't like me and doesn't want to buy some fish from me, I'm okay with that. I just want the truth. I just want to help people. And yeah, sometimes I go a little overboard. But deep down inside, I'm a good person, and I always want to help. And if you write me or message me, you'll see that I'll never just not answer you. I always make sure I try to answer and get back to everyone.
And I want to say something too, because I can come off as being very condescending at times, but I get very frustrated with people who are throwing medications at their fish, and I look at the fish and I'm going, that's the wrong medication, or that's too much medication, or you have mixed two medications that shouldn't be mixed. I get very frustrated with that. And I may come off as being condescending, but it's because I care about the fish and I want what's best for them. And I'm seeing stuff being done that's not best for them.
Yeah, I mean, we all, and you guys got to understand too, when you're reading what's being written down on the forums, a lot of people would take it the wrong way. I mean, I've even done it when people write me. I'm like, oh man, they're being mean to me, or they're trying to say I'm stupid, or it's not really like that all the time. It just seems like that. It's best to get on the phone and talk to someone, especially if you're in a serious about fixing your fish or something's going on that you really want to take care of. Sometimes just getting on the phone is a lot better than trying to write everything out, especially for me. I'm a very bad writer, very bad speller. I just was never into it. People were like, you should write a Discus book. I'm like, yeah, that's the last thing I want to do. But that's not what I'm at. I'm not into making money off of Discus. I'm into just enjoying the hobby, helping others enjoy the hobby. And that's pretty much my goal in the whole thing. And yeah, I love when I make some babies and grow them out to monsters and people say, oh, awesome. That's what I get off on. I really do. Definitely. That's my thing.
How can we make simply a reliable source for people? Oh, yeah, you kind of have to watch who the people are that are parroting. Me and Cary both have done our research. I'm still doing research. I'm constantly doing research on stuff.
Forgetting stuff. I have to research too still. Go back and look at things, definitely.
Yeah, but if you go back and you look at what they've posted on other places or at the help that they've asked for in other places, and then you see them taking the information they got there and passing it on to somebody else, and that's a lot of what we see.
Right. Agreed.
The people haven't done their own research. They're just copying what other people say. And a lot of times it's bad information, and that a lot of times I get very frustrated with that as well. With people giving bad information. I had it the other day, and the guy, I actually ended up, he messaged me personally, and I've been helping him with his fish, but he had mixed two medications that shouldn't have been mixed and asked what he should do next. And everybody in there was posting this medicine and that medicine, and all I could think was those two medicines shouldn't have been mixed.
Right.
Because it could kill the kidneys, and then you've got all these people adding to it. And I'm thinking these people don't know what they're doing when they're telling this guy who just overdosed his fish that he needs to add another medicine to it. And this fish looks way better today than he did. But he ended up closing his own thread. And I'm glad he did, because that was getting absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, I agree.
So we see that too much.
That's that is a big frustration about it. I mean, it's great that Simply is growing, the forum is growing, and we're getting all kinds of people, but everybody wants to try to help, and everybody has their recommendations, and everybody repeats a lot of things that they hear. That's a big one. So yeah, it's I'm not a part of the team, but at the same time I am. I just don't want the responsibility. But yeah, it's hard. It's going to be hard to. You can't just go there and start deleting people. You just can't. You're wrong. Delete. You're wrong. Delete. It's a
Yeah.
discussion, and you know, there's things there's things like I'll post things, and you know, when you're posting and writing things, there might be this or that where you miss it and you don't say it, and then someone will come along behind you and bring it up. So that's why it's good not to delete anybody. For the most part, does that happen? No, it's always shitty and wrong, but for sometimes it does work out and someone adds on to a good thread, some good add on good information. So that's a tough call for sure.
Yeah. Yellow discus is a true strain.
Yellow
But,
discus?
yeah, but they will not hold their color. So,
Well, they're not true then.
yeah.
They're not true.
No, you feed them
You're
anything
not.
with any type of red food in it, and that discus is going to turn orange. I've got one in my fish room, an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous male in my fish room. He was bright canary yellow when I got him, and we put him on our beef heart, and our beef heart has spirulina in it, our beef heart has paprika in it, plus we use the tetra color bits, and he is just as orange as you want him to be.
And that's the thing. If someone's looking for a yellow fish, go with the albino Millennium Gold.
Yep.
That's going to be your best yellow fish.
Yep.
Are there true yellows out there? Yeah, the golden is true yellow fish, but you're not going to get any of those. You might
Yeah.
get Pigeon Bloods or some other fish with that gene mixed in there, but you're not going to really see that yellow fish like you want. And then again, a lot of them are color fed to look that way. So they make the synthetic color enhancers, carousel pink,
Right.
carousel yellow. So yeah, if once that stop being fed, they revert back to their color.
My male is a yellow, but because we feed the red, he turned orange. But I do think that his color was enhanced, and he is from the gold lines. He has gold in him, so that's part of what Cary was talking about with the goldens.
Right.
Cary, this is specific to you. What are your thoughts on using botanicals and having black water for discus with overall health and breeding conditions?
I don't think you need to use black water. I don't need to use black water because of my tap water. Doesn't mean the same for you. Depending on your water, it might benefit you. It might work better for you. It might be easier for you. I'm pretty good with my tap water, so I wouldn't need to use that. But then again, like we were talking about earlier, lower pH is going to cause less bacteria, less protozoans, less parasites. If that black water is able to enhance those types of things, you know, just the tannics in it, as far as keeping the eggs clean, for sure, go for it. Give it a shot. Have I ever tried
A lot of the stuff, yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff that we use to color the water, some of the teas, some of the barks, are also natural antibacterials.
Exactly.
So that helps too, and possibly antifungal. So that in that way, I think it can help. But on the flip side, you don't know what these compounds that come out of the bark, the compounds that come out of the tea, do with as far as like the sperm in the eggs. You don't know what the impact is there. So I don't think I would use it while they're breeding.
Yeah.
Just to be on the safe side.
I actually, when I first got into discus, I actually filtered peat moss. Like an idiot, such an idiot.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, I had peat moss everywhere, man. And you could only like stuff a pillow with it and use it one time. So every day you had to change this pillow. And yeah, it turned the water nice and dark, and the eggs hatched pretty good. But after a while, I figured out other ways and easier ways and more beneficial ways to do it without going through all that. It's not needed.
Yeah. Annette, I really want to make a joke, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be
Do
nice.
do it.
Um, is there more than one type of garlic? No.
Powdered, salted.
That wasn't what she asked, Cary. That wasn't what she asked.
Okay.
You can use garlic powder. You can use minced garlic. You can use fresh garlic. There's not really any specific. I like the minced garlic, but my husband uses the powder or the granulated.
Minced is awesome.
I like to cook with minced garlic, so I like to have it. But he just uses the granulated garlic, and I recommend putting a lot of garlic in the food. If you're making your own food, I recommend that stuff. That stuff is awesome.
Yes. Anti-protozoan agent.
Absolutely.
Natural. Anytime you can go natural on certain things, if you know what they're about, that's been an old school for a long time. Yep. Garlic, even with humans.
I don't think everything that's natural works, but right. Garlic is one of those that is already proven. It's scientifically proven as well as proven through use.
Yes.
So that is definitely something you want to have on your menu for your fish. You have hard water in Pennsylvania. Blackwater product spine softens down tremendously. Okay, that was just an informative. I didn't know if there was a question associated with that. Okay. More questions, anybody? I don't see any more. It must be starting to slow down a little bit.
I killed it, Tammy. They were like, oh, Cary's there. So now they're like, we're not showing up for this.
No.
Get better by yourself.
Cary is a very gruff exterior. He can come off as a butthole and all that, but he has got the biggest heart. I'm going to tell you now. He is a big softy for all these fish.
Yeah, that is a big problem. I really am. I mean, I'm a terrible writer. Oh, my God. And I think too fast and write too slow. That's my problem.
Husband of mine. I'm sorry, guys. I got to tell him. Can you please bring me a phone charger?
Nice. Yeah, don't leave me here alone.
Well, I think if mine goes off, we both go.
Oh, right, yeah.
What is your favorite strain of Discus Cary?
My favorite strain is probably going to be the fish I don't have. Leopard snake skin, mosaic leopard. My wife really likes those fish. And I really like them too. Don't know why I don't have any. I used to have them. But I'm planning on getting some sometime soon. But yeah, that's probably my favorite. I just love the mixture of the colors and the you can actually see the individual colors on the scales. So you know a snakeskin is a mutation. So they have smaller scales and many more scales than regular 9-bar discus. So the leopard snakeskins just have that just a alluring color effect on them when you look at that real close. That's my favorite.
I think my favorite is going to be the blue scorpion. I absolutely love the blue scorpion snakeskins. Is not at the moment not my favorite fish in my fish room, and I do have them in here. But I absolutely love the color. I love the patterning on them. They're absolutely gorgeous fish.
The blue too is the blue on a scorpion is unique too.
Got one sitting here begging me for food right now. So I love the colors on them and the patterns. I just do. So that's got to be one of my favorites. Does humic acid trigger spawning?
No. I would think not. I don't think, I mean, are we talking about wild discus or are we talking about domestics? Because really, domestic discus don't really need much to get them to spawn. Just keeping them healthy, keeping them clean and feeding them, and they're off to the races.
Right.
As far as wild discus go, would any kind of acid would probably trigger them depending on how, where they came from or, what you're doing or I mean, I wouldn't think so though. Not too much. No.
Amanda Carato says that, or she gave laughy faces when I said that you come off as a butthole. She thought that was funny.
It is funny.
How do you prevent fungus on eggs?
Ooh. Nobody wants to hear this, but so I'm a big fan of formaldehyde. I use 37% formaldehyde.
That's
Formaldehyde is made.
formula.
Yeah, it's formalin, so it's made from methanol. So you'll see the product called 3611. A lot of products have a little methanol left in it, especially some of the formaldehydes. But I use that at 1 drop per gallon. It's clear. It's an oxidizer, so it dissipates within 24 hours, and it's gone and it's out of the tank. It will shock your good filter, your good bacteria and your filter a little bit. It'll cloud up a little bit, but it'll bounce back real fast because the dose is so minute. So that's been my fan. I'm not a big fan of methylene blue or hydrogen peroxide or acroflavin or Maroxy, which all of them are pretty good too. Maroxy would probably be my second choice, but formaldehyde has been pretty good for me. So I usually use that at 1 drop per gallon, and that's just one time after the eggs are laid, and then that's it. So that's what I use.
Okay. How do you know if a fish has gill flukes? You do a microscope slide of the gill tissue, but how do you tell, Cary?
I just know that most of them do, and usually always discus carry it. It's like cornflakes and milk. It just goes together, and the best way is to do a gill scraping, but that is pretty hard to perform on a fish that you want to keep and you don't want to hurt or injure or kill. Mostly to test them, they have to be eradicated, because you usually will cause damage when you're trying to scrape the gills. I know there's techniques to do it that are supposed to be a little simpler and easier on the fish, but I don't know. I'm not real too sure about that. I would just assume they do.
Dave Mathis wants to know, how do you get a pair to spawn again if they quit for a while?
So yeah, I mean, I've had that happen lots of times. I would try to just add them to a group of fish again, a nice community tank, even just trying a different breeding tank set up somewhere else, like, so they're not working on the east wall, try them on the west wall, try them on the south wall, try them on a black bottom tank. I mean, I know it sounds minute, but
No,
really,
it's the
I mean,
same thing
it's
we're
just,
doing with your heckles that we've got.
yeah, I mean,
They just quit, so we put them all in a tank together, and then we divided them back up, and now we moved them to another tank, so it's pretty much the same as what we're doing here.
right. I mean, it kind of falls in the same lines where people are like, oh, I treated my fish 10 days with metronidazole. He's still not eating. He's still not eating. And I'll say, well, throw him back in the tank with the rest of the fish. And they're like, oh, he might still be sick. No, throw him back in there. And usually, you do that, and the fish starts going crazy again, starts eating like mad just by being with the group of fish. So, yeah, I mean, I would definitely try moving them around, changing things, maybe not changing water, maybe changing more water. You're going to have to, tweak it and just mess with a bunch of little tricks and tips and, try a little bit of this and try a little bit of that. But something will get them going again, definitely.
Yep. And I think too that some of it may be, with some fish, may be seasonal. I think you may have a season, a period of a few months that they want to breed, and then they don't want to breed again until that period of next year. And I think that maybe,
yeah. So the best time for me to breed and raise fry will be next month. So always at the end of winter, beginning of spring, I do my finest. Throughout the summer and the beginning of winter, I just suck. It just doesn't, for some reason. Everything's so much better at the end of winter for me for some reason here. So yeah, I agree.
I think that goes back to their wild instincts where they only spawn during the rainy season. Maybe they pick a season. Maybe they have a season that they want to breed in, and they're not in that season yet. It could be a lot of things, I think. Saji wants to know if you like wild discus.
I do. But at the same time, I want to pay for my hobby. I hate shipping fish, so I'm more so for a little bit of color, stuff that I can get rid of at pet stores. Um, Not gonna get rich, but I'll pay for some of my foods and things like that. So yeah, I've never been a big fan of wilds. I've had them for a while. I've collected them for a while. I've seen no big difference in them. They seem a little more aggressive to me as far as, you know, being more fertile, more hardy. I think they are more so than the domestics. So
Yeah.
it's my experience with them,
Have
which is
you had
not much.
any luck? Yeah. Have you had any luck treating head standing? My answer is no.
Uh, I would say no as well. I've tried many things, neomycin sulfate. I've tried the organics. I've tried many different types of antibiotics. I can't even remember them all, but I've had them snap out of it maybe for 3, 4 days and then just relapse again. So no, not at all.
We're actually dealing with it right now, and I've been in contact with a veterinarian, and my understanding is there are way too many sensors involved in their balance for them to even begin to know where to look. Because there's so many different things that they just don't know, and so many different parts of the fish that are involved in that, including the kidneys, the gallbladder, the swim bladder, the brain itself is involved in it. There's so many different pieces that can be, it could be one little thing, one little sensor is off and they can't get their balance anymore. And you don't know what that cause is. And
Right,
even if you do necropsy, which I had considered having done, they still may not find the issue
right. Not
because it can be just
necessarily.
one little
Yeah, it's
spot.
not necessarily always the swim bladder the cause.
No, it's not. If it's the swim bladder, Epsom salt may help that. And salt baths may help that if it's swim bladder, but it's not always swim bladder. Sometimes it's those sensors that tell the swim bladder when to fill up and when to deflate,
Yep.
that are actually causing it. And there's no way to know which one. Um, Kelsey has a fish that stopped eating yesterday and is kind of hiding, but still comes out, not as active. What do I suggest? Add a little aquarium salt and turn the heat up. What do you suggest, Cary?
That is your go-to point right there. Temperature first thing, salt second thing, and a couple days. Let's see what happens, and from there, you might have to add metronidazole, but definitely try that first.
Yeah. Dick Owl mentioned using orange peel to stimulate appetite. I've never tried it.
Say that again.
He recommends using orange peel to stimulate their appetite.
All right, so this is a new one to me. Since 7 years of me being back into discus, I've heard about this orange peel thing over and over. Not so much, but here and there. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's where that acid comes in again. That what's that acid in the orange peels? Um, blah, 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 blah. I forgot the name of it, but yeah, I have no experience with that at all, so I could not help you on that. I mean, I don't even know if I want to try that. I would just turn my heater up first thing and salt second
Maybe
thing.
it seems like the warm water would probably cause that orange peel to decay faster, and that in turn fouls the water. And I know it talks about replacing it every 24 hours, but a lot of bacteria and stuff on that orange peel can actually build up in that 24-hour period because that is actually a decaying organism in the tank. So I don't like the idea of it, but if it works for them, I'm not going to try it. So
Yeah, I just can't. That's my problem too. I just can't find myself to try that. Damn it, I gotta go to the store and buy an orange. Damn it. Yeah, that's tough. But I've heard some things about it. I don't know much about it. I haven't done too much research on it. So yeah, I'm
right.
a little lost on that subject.
Somebody's asking about fish spawning in colder water.
Oh yeah, I mean that's been a thing forever. I mean, everyone changes their breeding pairs water with a little cooler water. Definitely a stimulant to get them to breed. There are an array of different tricks and things you can do for that. But yeah, I would agree. Yes.
Caesar, the mark. Yes, we know what the mark is. The mark is caused by the Aeromonas bacteria. I've done extensive research on that bacteria. I do not like it. Are you having a problem with that at the moment? Because if you are, you need to message me. Can you use Fritz marine salt with the Epsom salt? I don't see why not. Do you?
Mm-mm.
I think that'd be fine.
I've combined them before, many
Yeah.
times.
What is your preferred method of euthanizing fish?
Freezer.
Ice water.
Bag it. Yeah, I bag it like I'm gonna ship it, and put it in water like he's going to get shipped in a box, and I just pop him in the freezer.
Can you completely get rid of all bad bacteria in an established aquarium if you don't add new fish? No, you cannot. The bad goes along with the good. And you wouldn't want to. That's too much like living in a bubble. Everything, if you had every bad bacteria out of your tank and you wanted to introduce something new, the fish that are in that tank with no bacteria whatsoever are going to die from the bacteria that you put in that tank. You want to let them build their immune system to that bacteria so that they can fight it off on their own.
Yep, just like your kids playing in the dirt when they're little. Just like me. That's why I don't get sick.
Some amount of scratching is normal. We all get itches. I scratch itches on myself all the time. I don't see any reason to medicate just for a scratch here and there. If they are constantly scratching, then you need to look at what's going on. The first thing you want to do is check your water parameters, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, you guys gotta realize that the gill filaments are very delicate, and just small little particles can get stuck in there. So you'll see occasionally where they're gonna flash off an object, try to scratch themselves. I mean, that is not uncommon at all.
Say, what tea do you use? I use the rooibos tea in my tanks for coloring. And that I only use, we use that after, I think after the wiggler stage, we'll add some rooibos tea. It seems to calm the parents.
Is that a liquid or is that a leaf?
It's a leaf. It comes in just loose tea. You can get it in tea bags too.
Gotcha.
When using the marine salt and the Epsom salt, what is the recommended dosage? It would be the same as it would be if you weren't adding both. 1 tablespoon per 10 gallons. Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Cross-contamination. Riddick plus and salt. The higher the dosage of salt, the better.
Yes. Why?
I think somebody was saying 1 tablespoon per gallon. That sounds like a plan. But you need to watch your fish and make sure they're not, floating or whatever. But the higher the dose of salt you put in there, the better with the Riddick Plus.
Yep, you just want to watch their buoyancy because salt will,
Yeah.
mess with them a little bit. I mean,
They start floating, you need to do a water change. But I think the highest I've done is, the highest we've done is 5 tablespoons per 10. So that's, and I can't count, so somebody can tell me how many that is. I think 1 per 2.5 or 5. I can't count right now. That's a good question, Selena. If a fish is blind in one eye, will it tend to stay dark in color? I don't think it would stay dark all the time, but it might stay dark most of the time because it's going to be stressed, I would think. What do you think, Cary, if it's blind in one eye?
How do we know it's blind? Is it missing the eye? Is it a deformed eye? Or I guess we'll just believe her and say it's blind in one eye. Yeah, I mean, that definitely could cause some stress, for sure. I'd be stressed if I had one blind eye. I know that.
Hi, Sarah. Cary's on his way there, I think. I haven't started yet.
Yeah. I'm just drinking water.
Kenny, I think we all keep Riddick Plus in our rooms. I mean, nobody really uses it per ick, but I think we all have it. I think Cary's got it. I've got it.
Oh yeah.
So
I make my own little mixture, but I don't recommend it. It takes some time to mix it all up.
Y'all, Sarah knows as much as I do over here, and she's not in this chat either. She needs to be in here. She's a very smart lady, and we've missed her. I haven't seen her posting forever.
Sarah.
Yes,
Sarah. What's her
last exactly. Name? Sarah Bills is in there talking with
Sarah.
us.
My old girl,
yeah.
Sarah. Yeah, Sarah is
we mentioned smart. Sarah. Are any of your discus rooms fully aquascaped? Girl, I look a mess. Cary, do you have any fully aquascaped tanks?
No, too hard.
Yeah, I think it's too much work.
I would upstairs if I could have lots of people over to see it and show it off, but it doesn't do it for me anymore.
Sarah, Cary remembers exactly who you are, but he's drank so much he can't see the names on the screen anymore.
No, I borrowed these glasses. They're not mine. No, hi, Sarah. I hope you're doing good. I miss you.
I think that's Captain Sarah now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isn't she away somewhere?
Huh?
Isn't she away somewhere?
Yeah, not yet. I think, Sarah, didn't you say you're going in April to Japan?
Well, thank you, Sarah, for my freedom and for your service. I definitely always wanted to say that to you. And
yes, Chief Sarah. She is the chief now. I'm so proud of her.
Chief Two Feathers.
Ted, you can try that, or you can try just raising the heat up and see if that gets him interested in eating. He's got one that's shy and doesn't eat much. And he wants to know if he should take it out of the community tank. I think he can just crank the heat up a little first.
Yeah, I'm starting to read all this stuff now. I'm so far behind. I was like, oh, we already did that. We did that.
A couple of times it's gone so quick, I've had to go backward.
Yeah. Glad you're here.
And it can be pecking order. It can be several things. I don't think it's necessarily that he's sick. As long as he's eating some. But it could be pecking order, dominance, and you can bring the heat up a little bit. That'll raise their appetite, so he'll come out and eat more. That will probably help.
Mine's like still.
Come on, people. Questions. I think we've
wear a
covered
red shirt for Valentine's Day, though. Red shirt, Valentine's Day. Where's your red, Tammy? What do you got on red?
My socks are red, thank you very much, and fuzzy too.
awesome.
Ted, if your tank is not at 86 degrees already, I would keep it at 86 degrees.
Ted.
Unless you've got something in there that really likes cold water, 86 degrees is a really good temperature for just to keep your discus on. Cary, they want to see your fish room.
My fish room sucks.
They've already seen mine, so.
All right, I'll try to do a quickie. Let's see if it works. One tank. Oh, they're going crazy. Oh, they didn't like that. Whirling disease. Then it gets all crazy. Then it goes into here. Then we jump over here. We got stuff back there. And back here. Stuff back here. Some guppies. More brine shrimp. All right, I'm done. See, it was fast.
That was really quick.
Mine is a hodgepodge. I used to own this whole basement. It used to be all discus tanks, but I went into retail. We rented a building, and my wife's like, yeah, you're going to finish this basement and make a bedroom out of it, and you're never allowed back in it. And that's what I did. So she gave me the laundry room. But you can see I'm starting to get some tanks back into it. So these two tanks, one was a show tank that I put in when we finished the downstairs. But yeah, I've got everything tiled and drywalled, and it's our bedroom now because I have 3 kids, so they have all the bedrooms, and me and the wife have our own bedroom in the basement. So that's what happened to my discus hatchery. That's all I got. A lot of people say that when they come here. I thought you had 1 million tanks.
Nope. Medications to keep on hand.
Salt.
If you're bringing in more fish, have Riddick Plus and salt. Salt is number 1 though. You need to have a lot of salt. I have a big bag of salt. Metronidazole for the antiprotozoal issues that might or might not come up. Nitrofurazone for any type of exterior bacterial infections and some internal bacterial infections. That's about it. Honestly, for any normal fish room, that's about it. I've got other ones, but I've got a lot of fish and a lot of risk. I know Cary keeps the Artemis, microglyph Artemis on hand. That one might not be too bad. Keep on hand.
Yeah, I mean, I've like I said, I've seen some weird stuff with it. I mean, I've seen some weird things that it's done amazing results with, but yeah, I'm liking it. Haven't had to use it too much, which is great, but anytime it's like internal weird stuff like fat lips, swollen of the abdomen, anything like that, I'm gonna reach for that for sure, just because I had a little bit of success with it so far. So yeah, and it's hard getting the right antibiotics. You know, you can try your best to say, oh, I think I might need kanamycin, or maybe I might need neomycin, but you're still just guessing unless you're really getting, you know, a sensitivity report. So.
For cross-contamination, I do not recommend raising the temperature.
I don't either.
Only
way I would raise the temperature is if I had a sensitivity report from the pathology saying that tetracycline will kill this. Then I would jack the temp to 90, treat with tetracycline, and those fish should be better in 4 days. So that's how that works.
And that's a tough one because most bacteria multiply faster in warm water. The warmer the water is, the faster it multiplies. But there are some bacteria that multiply faster in lower temperatures. And I've dealt with one of them. But my standard recommendation for bacterial infection is don't change the temperature, because you don't know which bacteria is in there.
Exactly.
That really just keep them where they're at. Changing the temperature actually adds to the stress. So you really don't want to stress them anymore. Better just to keep the temperature where it's at than to try to change it.
Right. Yeah, that was the big thing, and that was a lot of recommendations. That's where you still see it to this day, where people are like, raise the temperature to 90, and yeah, and that all came about like what I just said. If you have a sensitivity report and you know what antibiotic's going to kill it, what bacteria is sensitive to what antibiotic, and you're using that right antibiotic, then go for it. A high temperature with the right antibiotic, I mean, you'll be amazed. But if you choose wrongly and you raise that temperature and it's the wrong antibiotic, yeah, not going to be so good.
That's game over.
Yes.
Cary, do you have one of your fish in particular that is your favorite that you have right now? That big male pigeon.
Well, I mean, yeah, I do like this one pigeon, but he's beating up the female right now because they just spawned. That's probably my favorite fish right now, definitely.
Yeah, I suspected as much.
Yeah, he's a pretty big boy. He did lay some eggs, but I think they're already eating them. Because I don't want to use the Hans cone. The cage.
No, I do not recommend Furan 2.
Furan 2. Very bad at high pH. Furan 2.
Do you recommend any new reference Discus books?
I actually don't think there is a new Discus book. Is there? I think I've read them all. If any book you're gonna get Discus Health. That's the best book I've read so far. I mean, there are a lot of good books out by a lot of guys. As far as different, it depends what you're looking for. Are you looking for disease? Are you looking for, breeding? So there's different topics that most of these books will cover different things more so.
Well, the person that asked has every Discus book known to man, so I'm not sure. I think he's wanting to know if there are any new ones.
I don't think so. No. Nope. No, I don't think there is any new ones out.
Because I know Francis Barreto has every Discus book that was ever put out. I know he does.
Yes, he does. I would bet on that. I would bet on that too.
And yes, Joe, that is a monster fish. I've got a couple of those. I need some more of them. Do you know how much it costs to do a culture and sensitivity?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so there are some labs out there that are, so they're training new people, students. So a lot of time when I used them Missouri, they would do the test and everything for free. But you still got to pay for shipping to send the fish off. You still got to pay, the dues for them. But, I mean, you're talking anywhere up to $200, $300. So.
Okay.
Depending where you go. I know you use state of Florida a lot, so Tammy does.
Jason, we read books.
Comic
we
books.
read books. I have them too. I have Andrew So's books, and I have the show discus book. What is the name of that book, Cary? The one with the show discus in it. Trophy discus. Yeah, I've got that one. I've got another one, but I've also got veterinarian books that I have on my phone, along with several other books that are on there. Not all of us go by what we read on the internet. Most of us do not listen to Facebook. Believe it or not, we actually do our own research. So, yes, that's Dick Al. Tina wants to know, how often do you feed adult discus? She's feeding 3 times a day. Is that enough?
Definitely enough. I usually do 3 times a day lightly, but I will go 2 days where I'll skip a day, even not even feed them at all. Got to get up early for work. I won't even turn the lights on. I'll come home and crash. But adult discus are fine twice a day, no problem.
Okay. Brian, I can answer your question. There is absolutely no new information on whirling disease at all in any type of fish. I think we talked briefly about that earlier. There are too many things that can cause it, and there's not enough research done yet.
Right. Mostly affecting salmonoids, trout, salmon, cold water fish. But, you know, again, there's always species jumps with different parasites and protozoans. So there you go.
Yeah. Gabrielle.
No solid evidence on discus yet.
Gabrielle was asking some more. He had to finish his question on the pathology stuff. I've actually had 2 necropsies performed. If you can find somebody who does it local to you, it doesn't cost you as much. If you can do the biopsy yourself and pack the organs in formalin and send it to them, it costs less. The University of Florida's prices just went up. I think it's like somewhere close to $100 to get the pathology done. It just depends on how much you yourself can do, and if you're having to pay somebody else to do the biopsy and pack it and ship it. But you have to really check by you. A lot of the veterinary schools have a marine department that they do pathology in. If you check local with your colleges, you can probably find a place to get pathology done at a fairly reasonable price.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And if you find a place for the students, yeah. That's because Missouri was doing for me. They had the students were doing all the work, so they were discounting it. But you know, they were happy that we were sending the fish to them, so they were like, you know, it kept them guys busy. But yeah, I was like roughly $200. But that was, you know, I haven't done one in a while. So
yeah, I mean, I've got 2 learned. I considered getting a third, but because they told me that the chances were they would not be able to find the issue, I didn't bother with it.
right.
But I was planning on it at the time. Yeah, be careful with
Just
it.
like some people are allergic to bloodworms. They can't touch them or they get a rash. They get bloodworm fever.
You know,
That's probably why I'm
went
crazy.
I went to Virginia to pick up some fish from up there, and the guy gave us some food. And we come back, and I broke out in the god-awfulest rash, and could not figure out what caused it. And all I could think was, I got to be allergic to one of those foods. I've got to be. So I haven't touched any of those foods since then. And some of them were blackworms, and I keep wondering about those blackworms.
Hi, Jack.
Yeah, Jason, we're immune to COVID-19 because we've all had a mouthful of fish water.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I still do my tanks old school, siphon right into the floor drain.
You oughta try it when you've got a medicated hospital tank that you're doing a water change on.
Brian shrimp water is not good either.
No. Oh, my goodness.
Well,
this has been fun, Cary, but you know what? I've got 2 steaks in the refrigerator that need to go on the grill because it is Valentine's Day, so I think that we're about to go put these steaks on the grill and have dinner.
No, I think this was cool. This is my first time doing anything like this. I've done a few live presentations. I've done some in Texas. I've done some in Florida. I've done them here in Michigan, Ohio. And I was a little nervous about this, but I think this is cool. I think I can get into something like this if you guys want to do it again. Yeah, it'd be awesome. I'm glad you asked me to join you, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody watching. This is an opportunity for us to really really make a connection with everybody and let them know, you know, what we stand for, what we're trying to do in the community.
Oh yeah.
We're not out here trying to hurt your fish. You know, we're not out here recommending a bunch of medications, and the reason we're not is because we don't want to hurt your fish. We want you to have the right treatment for the right thing. We're seeing so many people that just, too many people are throwing stuff out there. We want you to get to know who we are, what we do behind the scenes, and, you know, just understand a little better. Cary, you know, like I said, he can be, you know, a little gruff. That's a good word for you, Cary. You're gruff.
Gruff.
But he's got a big heart, and he's only out here to help people. We're not getting paid to do this. We don't get paid to come to these groups and tell people what they need to do to make their fish better. We're doing it because we care about the fish.
Right.
In particular, we care about the discus. So when you see us being gruff, there might be a reason. Maybe we're having a bad day. Maybe something has really bothered us about something. But we don't mean anything by it. It's just, you know, letting off some of our steam, trying to get people to understand where we're coming from.
Hi, Tina.
That's it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, yeah.
Did you finally see somebody?
Yeah, I see Tina. I'm waving at Tina and Bob. But yeah, I mean, that's my thing too. I'm not trying to be the king here. There are so many more educated people than me, and there's so many other people that know much more than me. And I will never say I'm the best, because I'm not. I just know what I know with what I got in my water and what I can do. And we already said you can raise discus, breed discus, do discus many different ways. It's all what works for you and what's best. That's for sure.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, this has been awesome, man. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tammy. On a last note, God bless Kenny and his family and everything going on with that. It's terrible.
It is terrible. And we miss Kenny, no doubt about it. I used to so look forward to all his monthly, you know, postings and all that. And I used to call him from time to time and ask him questions about different things. And he was just always there to answer the questions, and it's kind of, you know, he's just not there now.
Yeah, he definitely changed the discus industry. His goals and his ways, the way he did it, he changed things. He made people he made other sellers have to stand up to the plate. I mean, great guy, all in out. I mean, terrible. So yeah, God bless everybody. Kenny, his family, all the loved ones, all his friends.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, well, yeah, good time. You guys take care. Thank you.
Yep.
And, maybe we can do this again. It was cool.
Absolutely. Happy Valentine's Day, guys.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you again.